Good morning, everyone. Thank you for all coming out to join us today here, this beautiful fall NBT day. Today we're going to be making a very important announcement, and I'd like to start by saying thank you to the Right Honourable Prime Minister, and welcome our Premier Cochrane, and Minister Chenna for being here, and of course the Mayor, Her Worship, Mayor Alty, and the City for hosting us here. It's certainly been great to have the Prime Minister joining us for the last couple of days, talking with the Northerners about many issues, speaking about issues that matter the most to them. And we've had opportunity to visit several communities and talk to them about helping these communities, helping small businesses, and talking about recovering from the devastating fire season that we experienced. And we also talked about moving forward with reconciliation with the Indigenous peoples. And housing was very important in our discussions, and we talked about moving forward with more accessible and affordable housing for our residents. And since our government was elected in 2015, we've been making historic investments here in the Northwest Territories. We've formed very strong partnerships with Indigenous governments. We've formed partnerships with the government in the Northwest Territories. We've been working with community governments and the non-for-profit sector, and we've supported many housing projects that Northern residents need and families also need. And we have been making some significant progress, but we know that more work needs to be done, and we know we need to ensure that all Northerners have a safe and affordable place to call home. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the Prime Minister to make today's announcement. Merci, Joe.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's always great to be with you here in the NWT. It was especially great being with you yesterday in Hay River, Enterprise, and Katladichi First Nation. It's amazing how many people you know, and how strong and connected an advocate and representative you are for the people in the Northwest Territories. We're lucky to have such a strong and dedicated member of the team, being such a strong voice for the North in Ottawa. So thank you for all the work you do, my friend. Premier Cochrane, always such a pleasure to be with you as well. Thank you for your leadership through some very challenging times. We worked together in a very strong way on a huge range of issues, and I thank you for all your extraordinary service. Minister Chenna, great to see you as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Rebecca, Mayor Alty, thank you. Thank you for your leadership during the challenging times we've gone through, but in the challenging few years. It has been a very difficult few years, from pandemics to evacuations and fires and floods and different challenges. We know it's been really important for people to pull together, and having leadership that is focused on pulling people together and solving big challenges is what it's all about. And I'm very happy to be here with you for this big announcement on housing in Yellowknife. But before I do want to say a few words about the situation in the Middle East. Je tiens tout d'abord à offrir mes condoléances aux proches des Canadiens qui ont perdu la vie dans l'attaque terroriste du Hamas la fin de semaine dernière. Mes pensées et celles de tous les Canadiens sont avec vous. We continue to be in contact with the families of the 3 Canadians who are reported missing. We're providing support, and we're also in close contact with the local authorities. The safety and security of Canadians at home and abroad is always our top priority. The situation on the ground is volatile. We're actively helping our citizens and permanent residents come back to Canada. I can confirm that a first Canadian Armed Forces flight has departed Tel Aviv with approximately 130 passengers and has landed safely in Athens. As we speak, a second plane has already landed in Tel Aviv and will be bringing people to Athens in a few hours. And we're working on additional options for those who cannot reach the airport in Tel Aviv. To provide assistance and logistical support, we're also deploying members of our standing rapid deployment team to the region. This is a unit of specialized officials who are specifically trained to help during times of emergencies or crisis. Canadians who wish to leave or who need assistance can contact our embassy in Tel Aviv, our offices in Ramallah, or of course our offices in Ottawa. We're working around the clock to support you. We'll continue to follow the situation as it evolves and continue our efforts with international partners. La violence qu'on a vue et les détails qu'on continue d'apprendre sont absolument horribles. Le Canada condamne sans équivoque les attaques terroristes du Hamas contre Israël et on est solidaire du peuple israélien. Canada supports Israel's right to defend itself in accordance with international law. Hamas is a terrorist organization, and it does not represent the Palestinian people or the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people, and it does not represent Arabs or Muslims. Israeli and Palestinian civilians deserve to live in peace, in security, in dignity, and with their human rights respected. Canada will be providing an initial $10 million in humanitarian assistance to address urgent needs in Israel and in the Gaza Strip, and Minister Justin will have more details soon. As events abroad unfold, I want to take a moment to reassure the Jewish and Muslim communities here in Canada who are feeling especially vulnerable. I want you to know that we continue our efforts to keep our places of worship and communities safe. And our government is in regular contact with the leadership of the RCMP, and your local MPs are closely liaising with law enforcement. We must always stand united as Canadians. This is something that is core to Canada. We take care of each other, even in the most difficult of times, and we support each other always. Turning to this announcement, je suis très heureux d'être ici à Yellowknife. Partout au pays, on voit un besoin urgent de logements supplémentaires. Mais les besoins et les solutions diffèrent d'une région à l'autre. Le Nord est confronté à des défis particuliers. Par exemple, le climat est différent, l'accès aux matériaux est limité et il y a aussi, bien sûr, une très grande pénurie de main-d'œuvre. Here in Yellowknife, the cost of rent has been going up. Vacancy rates are very low, and the people who are, of course, hardest hit by this lack of supply are vulnerable people, including seniors, Indigenous peoples, and those experiencing homelessness. Housing is a complex issue, and we have to tackle it from different angles. During the pandemic, we launched the Rapid Housing Initiative specifically to address the urgent needs of vulnerable people. We're now in the third round of funding for this successful initiative, with which we're expected to build a total of over 15,500 homes nationally. Here in Yellowknife today, we can announce that we'll build 50 new affordable homes for the people who need it the most with federal funding under the Rapid Housing Initiative. The government of the Northwest Territories is also a financial partner, and the city of Yellowknife provided the land. Work on the construction site is already underway. On sait que quand les gens ont un logement abordable et sécuritaire, ça améliore leur vie. Ça favorise la stabilité, ça contribue à améliorer la santé physique et mentale, ça aide à trouver des emplois et ça renforce nos communautés. The promise of Canada is that every generation can reach even higher than those who came before. Well, we're working hard to secure that promise, and it starts by making sure everyone has a safe and affordable place to call home. Canada is the best country in the world. Let's keep making it even better. Merci beaucoup d'être ici. I'm now very happy to pass it over to Polly China, the Minister responsible for housing here in the Northwest Territories. Polly.
Thank you. Thank you for joining all of us here today. I want to thank, I'm just going to adjust this mic. I want to thank Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Premier Cochrane, MP MacLeod, Mayor Rebecca Alty, and the Chair of the Yellowknife Housing Authority, David Waugh-Selsu, for being here today for this important announcement. Today's announcement represents real progress towards the GNWT's mandate and commitment to increase the stock of affordable homes in the Northwest Territories. Like many of the communities in the North, there's a massive need for housing in the Northwest Territories, and one government cannot complete this alone. This announcement is a great example of federal, territorial, and municipal governments working together to address the housing crisis here in the Northwest Territories. Housing staff have worked very hard with the local housing authorities to develop this proposal to respond to the third round of Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation's Rapid Housing Initiative. Based on the strength of this project and the intent of social outcomes, Housing was notified by CMHC officials that the proposal was successful and the project funding has been secured. I'm excited to announce that a 50-unit multiplex will be constructed here in Yellowknife with the occupancy of 2025. It will include a mix of bachelor suites for seniors and singles and 2-bedroom apartments for small families. Thank you to the Government of Canada for investing $20.8 million under the CMHC Rapid CMHC Housing Program. Thank you to the City of Yellowknife for your contribution to secure the land for this project. This complex will be located downtown. It'll be a walking distance to the school, to the grocery stores, and health services. One of the standard features of this 50-unit multiplex is the emphasis on sustainability. This project will incorporate new sustainable technologies to ensure that aspects like heating, ventilation, building assemblies, and air filtration are optimized. Another important aspect of this build will be that the Housing NWT North Slave District Office and the Yellowknife Housing Authority will be located on the first floor of this building and will be able to work and grow with stronger working relationships between staff, and they will have the opportunity to have easy access to the tenants and their concerns and other programs that we may offer. I look forward to seeing the results and the continued partnership between the Northwest Territories and the Government of Canada as we work together to address the housing crisis through various supports like the Rapid Housing Initiative. We continue to put new houses on the ground in the communities across the Northwest Territories. Again, I want to thank Prime Minister Trudeau, Premier Cochrane, and MP MacLeod for his constant advocacy for us in Ottawa, and Mayor Rebecca Alty, for working with us and joining us here today. After we finish, we will be taking a tour. Right now, I'd like to invite Ms. Rebecca, Mayor Alty, for some comments. Merci.
Merci, Minister China, sorry. I'd like to again thank Prime Minister Trudeau, Premier Cochrane, Minister China, MP MacLeod, as well as my colleagues, Deputy Mayor Arden Smith, Councillor Cochrane, and Councillor Hendrickson for joining us today. Today is a great day for housing in Yellowknife, as we're here today to announce more funding for more affordable housing in our city. This is the third rapid housing project in Yellowknife that has received federal funding, and each time, all three governments, federal, territorial, and municipal, have collaborated to make the projects a reality. Once these three housing projects, the YWCA, Aspen, and this one, are complete, we'll have 107 new units in Yellowknife. In order to address our pressing housing challenges, we all need to continue to work together. The city was happy to support this project with a donation of land, an $825,000 contribution to create 50 new safe, inclusive, and accessible housing units in the city. This project will also contribute to Yellowknife's downtown revitalization. With this project, I'd like to thank Housing NWT for building and operating more housing and options in Yellowknife. From the planning to the capital funding to the ongoing operating expenses, thank you for developing this project. It's so needed in our city and in our territory. It's great to receive the federal government's funding for capital builds, but without the territorial government's support through operating subsidies, these buildings would not be able to open. There would be no heat, no electricity, no staff, and more. It's thanks to your support that this project will operate for years to come, so thank you. And of course, we wouldn't be here today, and this project wouldn't be a reality without the federal government's financial support. Thank you for your increase in housing investments over the past number of years. From Reaching Home to the Co-Investment Fund and the Rapid Housing Fund, it's thanks to your support that we've seen an increase in non-market housing. Through the federal housing programs, over the past 3 years, funding has supported 262 units in our community. 102 units at Athens, the purchase of Yellowknife Apartments, just the apartment building over there, for Homebase, which has 8 units, 21 units for the YWCA, 40 units with Spruce Bow, 36 units at Aspen Apartments, 5 units for Habitat for Humanity, and now 50 units here. Although we still need more, we've been making progress over the past 3 years, and it's my hope that we can formalize a working group with the new territorial governments and continue this work together to address our pressing housing needs. But today, let's celebrate another 50 units of affordable housing coming to Yellowknife. Merci.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Alty. We will now proceed to the question and answer period. On va maintenant procéder à la période de questions des médias, and we will begin with Kelly Malone from the Canadian Press.
So for the Prime Minister, Canada has said that all sides in the conflict between Israel and Hamas must follow humanitarian law. You said a year ago, talking about Russia's attacks on Ukraine, that indiscriminate attacks on innocent civilians constitutes a war crime. So with that, what's your position on the siege in Gaza?
Well, there is no question that Hamas is a terrorist organization that has brutally murdered innocent civilians, that has chosen to invade Israel, that has chosen to cause just horrific devastation, and on top of that, has taken hostages in total and flagrant violation of all international laws and norms. Israel has the right to defend itself in accordance with international law. And we continue to look for ways to support civilians in both Palestinian and Israelis and ensure that as many civilians as possible are kept safe during this terrible conflict that is the responsibility and the fault of the terrorist organization known as Hamas. Nous reconnaissons que Hamas est une organisation terroriste qui a violé la loi internationale, qui a commis des crimes de guerre dans leur attaque horrible contre des civils en Israël. C'est absolument inacceptable et nous reconnaissons, bien sûr, le droit de l'Israël de se défendre en ligne avec la loi internationale. Nous sommes là pour travailler avec nos partenaires et nos alliés pour assurer qu'on protège le plus grand nombre de civils possible. Mais la violence qui se passe maintenant est la responsabilité de l'organisme terroriste Hamas, qui ne représente pas le peuple palestinien, qui ne représente pas les Arabes ou les musulmans.
There are 70 Canadians in Gaza who have no food, no water, no electricity, no way out. What do you say to them and their families? And then how will Canada get them out in the absence of a humanitarian corridor?
We are working very hard with all of our allies and friends and partners who want to see peace returned to the region, want to see civilian lives protected. This is an unbelievably difficult situation. But Hamas's decision to take hostages, to take innocent hostages, and to use them as pawns in a game of terror is absolutely unconscionable, and all must stand strongly against these horrific acts.
Next question.
Your government has called on Israel to respect international law in its response to this attack. Do you think cutting off food, water, electricity, and fuel to civilians does that?
It is an extraordinary, difficult situation that we are facing. We know that Israel has the right to defend itself in accordance with international law. And Hamas's decision to take innocent people hostage is a further example of their barbarity, of their atrocities. We need to ensure we are doing everything we can to keep all civilians in the region safe, and that's what we will continue to work to do.
And a local question now. This summer's wildfires showed the country how behind the NWT is in terms of essential infrastructure. One road or no road out of communities, precarious telecommunications systems that failed during the wildfire emergency in the South Slave region. The NWT can't improve infrastructure on its own. Has new funding been allocated to NWT infrastructure since the summer?
I've had many good conversations with Premier Cochrane and other leaders in the NWT about this issue, the resilience of infrastructure, the need to build back better, knowing that climate change means there will be more extreme weather events. There will be more wildfires and floods and challenges faced by people across this region. And that's why we are working together to make sure that we are better ready in the future for things that are going to become more and more commonplace. We must make sure we're keeping communities and the people who live in them safe, knowing that it's going to get more difficult in the coming years, but this federal government will always be a partner to the territorial government and the municipalities.
Prochaine question.
Vous demandez au parti de permettre l'établissement d'un corridor humanitaire. À partir de quand un blocus complet devient déraisonnable, selon vous?
La décision de l'organisme terroriste Hamas de prendre des otages, de prendre des innocents en otage, met en péril la vie de tout le monde dans la région. Évidemment, l'Israël a le droit de se défendre en ligne avec la loi internationale, mais nous travaillons tous pour essayer de trouver des solutions pour garder tous les citoyens en sécurité et de mettre fin à ce conflit le plus rapidement possible. We recognize always that Israel has the right to defend itself, and Hamas's decision to take innocent civilians hostage is absolutely irresponsible and unacceptable. That is why we need to continue to work with international communities and allies to try and find a way to protect all civilians through this. But the choices that Hamas has made make that even more difficult than it would otherwise be.
Votre gouvernement a comme objectif de réduire les gaz à effet de serre de 40 à 45 % d'ici 2030. Les territoires du Nord-Ouest sont très dépendants encore des énergies fossiles. Qu'est-ce que vous comptez faire concrètement pour appuyer le territoire ici afin de faire une transition vers des énergies plus propres?
Je pense que tout le monde dans les territoires comprenne très, très bien à quel point on doit lutter contre les changements climatiques pour les décennies à venir, mais on doit aussi faire les investissements nécessaires pour aider les gens à s'adapter à ces nouvelles réalités. Ça fait partie des priorités que nous avons, d'assurer des sources d'énergie, d'assurer des investissements dans des programmes et des solutions innovatrices qui vont aider les citoyens. On est là pour lutter contre le changement climatique. On est là pour aider les familles avec les coûts de la vie en même temps. C'est comme ça qu'on va bâtir un avenir prospère pour tous les gens dans ce pays, particulièrement les gens qui habitent dans cette magnifique région du Grand Nord.
Next question. Oh, sorry.
Okay. We're going to continue. Let me start off. I think everyone in the Northwest Territories and indeed across the country, given the summer we just have, understand just how important it is to continue to step up in our fight against climate change. This is going to be the new norm for years, for decades to come. But for how long will depend on how quickly we're able to reduce our emissions and create solutions and resilient infrastructure that's going to support people through what will be trying years into the future. Our government has always been focused on creating those solutions, working hand in hand to ensure, with initiatives like carbon pricing, for example, that puts more money back in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians, that actually supports families while we're fighting climate change. It is a difficult and challenging time we're all facing in terms of climate change, but we know that continuing to invest, continuing to put families first, continuing to understand the challenges and the realities unique to communities living in the North is at the center of how we build a better future long-term for families and communities living in this beautiful part of the world.
Next question.
Premier Cochrane has spoken about the concerns about a monopoly in housing in cities like Yellowknife, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh has expressed interest in busting monopolies. Is that something the federal government is interested in?
The federal government is there to work in partnership with provinces and territorial governments and with municipalities on the solutions that work and that respond to the challenges faced in each different region. Obviously, the North has its own unique challenges, but every part of the country has different challenges that will vary from place to place, and we will be there as partners in the solutions required by those folks who are closest to the challenge on the ground, the municipal leaders and the provincial and territorial leaders who understand the dynamics. The federal government is there to be a partner in significant solutions, and that's what this announcement today shows.
Building new units is wonderful, and we're here to celebrate that, but are there plans to address the vacant buildings in Yellowknife?
Perhaps I can turn to Housing Minister on that one, or the Mayor.
We do have the development incentive bylaws, and so I do know that outside of what the city's offering, there are also federal programs. So the co-investment fund, there's also a greenhouse gas reduction fund. So I know that some of the buildings in town have been looking to access federal funding to be able to make their projects a reality. So it is a challenge with the current interest rates. I know once those change that some business owners had to revisit whether their project was feasible or not, but I do also know that a number of business owners have been looking at those federal grants and to see if those will help make the business case a reality.
Next question.
We have a carbon tax that financially penalizes northern communities where there is no alternative presently. How does the federal government justify enforcing a carbon tax on these communities when there's no alternative?
Well, the price on pollution is all about doing two things. First of all, ensuring that Canadians are supported, which is why the price returns more money in the pockets of 80% of Canadians right across the country where it is in effect. But secondly, it shows and encourages the innovation and the investments that are going to create those alternatives. We know it is so important to ensure that businesses adjust, adapt, change their way of doing things, that various people are able to prepare for the challenges of the future with the right kinds of incentives. That's what putting a price on pollution is all about. It is extraordinarily effective. We are leading the way in terms of bending the curve in the G7 nations, even though we're an oil and gas producing country. We've demonstrated that putting people first, that fighting climate change in real and tangible ways, and supporting communities and families as they do that is the way we're going to ensure the brightest possible future. People here in the North know more than just about anywhere else the challenges and the costs of not taking action against climate change that are coming at them in the coming years and decades. That's why this government has chosen to step up. And it's unfortunate to see that there are still political parties in this country that refuse to accept that climate change is real and think we should be doing far less to fight climate change. That kind of short-term thinking is doing nothing but punishing Canadians, particularly future generations. Okay. Nous avons choisi de faire tout ce qu'on peut pour lutter contre les changements climatiques en investissant dans de l'aide pour les familles en même temps. C'est pour ça qu'à travers le pays, 8 familles sur 10 reçoivent plus d'argent par notre prix sur la pollution qu'ils ne payent à chaque année dans les juridictions où c'est appliqué. Mais c'est un signal et un coup aux entreprises et au business qui les encourage à faire des investissements nécessaires dans de nouvelles technologies, des nouvelles façons de faire qui fonctionnent. Parce que le Canada est en tête de liste depuis une couple d'années des pays du G7 par rapport à notre trajectoire en termes de réduction de gaz à effet de serre. Ça fonctionne. Et je pense que les gens ici dans le Nord comprennent très bien à quel point on ne peut pas ralentir dans notre lutte contre les changements climatiques. On ne peut pas faire semblant que ça ne s'en vient pas, que ce n'est pas une responsabilité que nous avons maintenant à adresser. C'est vraiment dommage qu'il y a encore des partis politiques dans ce pays, dont les conservateurs au fédéral, qui continuent de penser que la solution, c'est de moins faire pour lutter contre les changements climatiques. Les gens ne vont pas être protégés, ils ne vont pas être prospères dans les années et les décennies à venir si on n'est pas en train de comprendre et d'agir pour protéger les générations futures.
Follow-up?
Does the federal government have plans to support Northerners who shoulder the burden of the high cost of living as a result of climate change?
We have always been there to support people in the North from the very beginning of our conversations on the Pan-Canadian framework to fight climate change. There was a recognition of the particular circumstances and context faced by people who live in the North, who are both greater victims of climate change to a larger degree of the impacts and less responsible for it than many other people across the country and around the world, while at the same time they do have fewer alternatives. That means it is the responsibility of all of us to be there to support people in the North. But the solution to that is not to slow down in our fight against climate change. It's to do more in supporting people and building those strong economies, creating those solutions, whether it be new lithium mines, whether it be new sources of energy, whether it be small modular reactors, whether it be more power lines or hydro projects or connections or more energy efficiencies. There are so many things that we can and are doing. We need to continue to be ambitious and steadfast in our commitment to build a better future for everyone in the North for generations to come, particularly for Indigenous peoples who have seen the impact of the changing climate more tangibly and closely than just about anyone else.
Next question.
Yes, I would like to hear more about your visit to the community of Enterprise. What lessons or impressions did you take away from that?
First of all, it was unbelievably heartbreaking. Enterprise has long been known as being an unbelievably close-knit, welcoming community. It's the gateway into the Northwest Territories and has always been an extraordinarily tight-knit, friendly place. The devastation that we saw, people who build homes in a community for over decades, losing just about everything, is truly heartbreaking. But in my conversations with Michael Damour, the mayor, my conversations with the premier and with other local representatives and leaders, including KFN First Nation, we are there, KFN, we are there to rebuild. We are there as partners to ensure that community continues to be strong and vibrant for decades to come as people rebuild.
Given that, as you said, this may be a new normal and we may be in for more devastating wildfire seasons in the future, what lessons can we draw from this devastating wildfire season that can be applied to future years?
Well, I think there's lots of lessons around how to keep communities safe, either through nearby forest management, either through building codes, either through what we do around sprinkler systems, how we support various building code approaches, how we work on communications, how we use science to understand the risks of flare-ups. There are so many things that the experts have been looking into and learning from this, but I will say throughout these incredibly trying times. One of the things that has continually blown me away is just how much people have been there for each other. And I know it's something classic in the North, of the strength of communities, the strength of neighbors being there for neighbors. But when you look at the size and the scale of the crisis people faced, and how well, despite those conditions, people were there to keep each other safe, to support each other, to get through difficult things like evacuations and returns. It really is a huge credit to the people of the North and to their leadership that there were no losses of life and from the fire, and that there were significant positive lessons to learn about what happened.
Next question.
Yes. Prime Minister, can you speak towards what you heard from Katlodeche First Nation and Métis leaders yesterday on what they require at this time?
This is the Katlodeche First Nations leaders, particularly Chief April Martel, were extraordinarily articulate in the challenges they face, but also the role that Indigenous communities and traditional knowledge and understanding of what's happening around played, both in alerting the communities around to the challenges of the floods in Hay River last year, or the impacts of the fire as it was approaching. It is really important that we make sure that First Nations communities have the tools necessary to keep themselves safe and continue to be the stewards of the land that they have been for millennia. In my sit down with the Métis Nation of the Northwest Territories, a lot of the same issues were discussed. There's a need for greater partnership. There's a need for greater investments, and we're going to continue to work with them and with all Indigenous peoples in building that path forward on reconciliation, not just with an eye to the terrible challenges of the past, which are real, but also how we build the strongest, most robust future, not just for Indigenous people, but for Indigenous and non-Indigenous people alike, because we all live on this land together, and we all have responsibilities to care for it and make sure that future generations have all the opportunities to continue to thrive in this beautiful place.
Follow-up? Yes. After this northern visit, can you be more specific on what infrastructure supports your government is looking to provide NWT communities affected by fire?
I can tell you that these conversations are very much ongoing and active about what those next steps are, whether it's more training, more resources, whether it's direct infrastructure investments. I know both Minister Sajjan and Minister Fraser are engaged with this directly, as others will be as well. This was a great time for me to be up here, but I can highlight that a number of other ministers both have come up and will continue to come up to make sure that we're both learning the lessons from what just happened, but also preparing for what will be a challenging future. We all know we continue to be here for communities across the North, and that will keep going for a long time.
And we have time for one more question. On peut prendre une autre question.
Hello, Mr. Prime Minister. This question goes for climate change, I suppose. Your 2019 election campaign promise for the North was to get the North completely off diesel fuel. Now, it's been 4 years, and we really haven't seen very much, so I was wondering if you could speak towards that.
It continues to be a goal of this government that is shared by many partners across the North. We know that a reliance on diesel is both expensive and challenging for the environment. In terms of building alternatives, whether it's renewables, whether it's looking at small modular reactors, whether it's developing other solutions as well, we're going to continue to be there to work with partners across the territories to make sure that we're getting closer to that, because we need to get there if we're going to get to a net zero world. How we get there is going to require all the innovation and thoughtful leadership of multiple partners as we move forward.
Thank you very much. Merci à tous. This is the end of the press conference. Ça va mettre fin à la conférence presse.